UFC Vegas 89. This is the weigh-in recap show, full card predictions, and the betting breakdown. Looking forward to talking about each of the matchups on this card after seeing the fighters on the scales. So make sure you guys smash the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, turn the post notifications on. Make sure to share the video as well. Also note, Fight Companion is back this Saturday, tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be live for the entire card. So make sure you guys tune into that. Without further ado, let's get into the first fight on the card. Mohammed Usman versus Mick Parkin. I have been picking Mohammed Usman to get the win throughout the week. I was definitely excited to see these guys go face-to-face because they are large heavyweights. And it's interesting with how much muscle Usman has. He's actually like 25-ish pounds lighter than Mick Parkin. We'll look at them side by side, actually. We'll bring the scales up right away and check them both out. Now, I feel Usman could have a bit of a physicality edge and a pressure wrestling advantage, especially in the small cage. Let's look at the size here. We got Parkin. I mean, he's 260 plus, right? On the other side, there's Mohammed Usman looking pretty jacked. And then you see him side to side. And it's interesting because Mick Parkin is just built like a damn ogre. The dude's head is ginormous. Doesn't have a ton of muscle tissue, but it's just very big boned. Also has that slight hunchback and Notre Dame look when he's striking. Mohammed Usman on the other side is going to be tricky to deal with in the clinch. I do think he's going to give Parkin some difficulties with pressure. We haven't seen an impressive finish in the UFC from Mick Parkin, even though he got one on Contender. It was against, a guy that's kind of mid. Neves, I believe, who was not good. I feel like Mohammed Usman has a chance to win this thing if he ties up with Mick Parkin. Parkin hasn't shown a lot of power, so I'm not super worried about Usman getting flatlined. I'm going to go with Usman. I'm going to go with the slight underdog here. I'm going to pick win by decision, heavyweight fight, expecting it to go over. I mean, that could be a dangerous game. We'll look at the money line, though. It's plus 120 for Usman, Parkin at minus 140. Opening line was actually up at plus 165 for Usman. And over at minus 165, I do have a feeling that we're going into the later stages. Usman to win via decision is plus 240. Mohammed Usman to get it done is my pick. I'm going with the underdog. I'm picking him against the English ogre, Mick Parkin. We're going with Mohammed Usman, the brother of Kamaru, to get it done. I do think he can pull it off and take the O from Mick Parkin. Excited to find out tomorrow. Next fight on the card, we have Igor Severino da Silva versus André Lima. I'm picking André Lima. I believe he's the technically superior guy, specifically in the striking. I think he's technically better for sure and more calculated. When they go to the ground, I think Lima's very physically strong and explosive. I don't think he's going to be a dead fish on the floor. I expect him to win. I've been riding with him all week long. Didn't feel like the scales were going to change much here for these flyweights, but we will check them out. Note that Severino's only 20, one of the youngest guys on the roster. There's Lima, obviously ripped and in great shape. It's a flyweight fight where both guys are on weight. There's Severino, got the crazy cauliflower ears. That looks like he almost doesn't have an ear. Holy shit. Very lean and in shape as well. And a pretty intense face-off between these two. They got close to one another. Even Lima put his hands on Severino's chest, essentially saying, yo, back up. I think Lima can beat him. Severino's a good prospect, too. I think they both got interesting futures in the UFC flyweight division. I'll say Lima by decision. Avoids grappling sequences and technically outstrikes Severino. Severino da Silva here on fight odds. Plus 145 for Da Silva. Lima minus 170. I'm going with Lima. Minus 180 for the over 1.5. I think we're going over around 1.5. And Lima to win by decision sits up at plus 250. I like André Lima. I like win by decision. I think he can technically outstrike Igor Severino and get his hand raised here in a good fight. I like the kickboxing background too. Ladies going after it in the next one. We got Montserrat Rendon versus Daria Zheleznyakova. I've been picking Daria Zheleznyakova to get the win over Montserrat Rendon. The striking of Rendon is hard to watch. It is awful, awful, awful. Now, she is physically strong and does have decent wrestling. On the other side, Daria Zheleznyakova lone loss is her getting mounted and finished on the ground with ground and pound against Melissa Dixon, who's in the UFC and 1-0 in the UFC as well. And Zheleznyakova was touching her up a lot striking. The striking of Zheleznyakova is definitely high pedigree UFC level. The problem is she may have a shit ground game. There are some legit holes that need to be patched up. Now, Montserrat Rendon has never finished the fight as a pro. That gives me confidence that Zheleznyakova can end up winning this thing. And I think if they're caught striking, Rendon throws punches from way out of range, like legitimately way off. The target's here, and she's throwing it from all the way back here. I think that Zheleznyakova is going to beat her. I think she could knock her out as well. Now, we'll check them out on the scales. We'll see how these ladies look. We'll see what the fitness levels are like. There is Zheleznyakova. Interesting look. Kind of looks like Joan Rivers a bit, to be honest, man. Holy shit. I don't know. Not saying she definitely got some work done, but right? Don't you guys see those cheeks a little bit? That's interesting. Very interesting for a young girl. But she is in very good shape. We got to look at the physique. She looks jacked, and her striking is phenomenal. Montserrat Rendon, she looks pretty impressive as normal. She's ripped up. There's a face-off. You see Zheleznyakova a little taller. If we're in the striking, Zheleznyakova killing her. I'm going Zheleznyakova. I'll be honest, though. Method of victory is interesting. So, initially, breaking this thing down, I picked Zheleznyakova. I think I called the decision, if I'm not mistaken. But something's telling me she's got a real chance for this knockout here. Minus 210, Zheleznyakova. Plus 180 for Rendon. With an over 2.5 for minus 265. Zheleznyakova by decision is plus 110. And a knockout is plus 300. She could spark Rendon. Rendon has some mid-striking. Now, it wouldn't be crazy if she technically outstruck her. Okay, I'm not trying to sell everybody on a damn knockout prop. But Rendon's stand-up is horrible. And unless she's got that steel chin, which granted many Mexicans do, she could get slapped here. Zheleznyakova for the W in this fight. She should pull it off. Way better striker. Next fight is Stephen Nguyen versus Jarno Errens. I am picking Stephen Nguyen. I think he touches Jarno Errens up in this fight. I'm pretty excited to see how Stephen Nguyen looks inside of the UFC. I mean, the guy fought on Contender Series, 3 times out of his last 4 fights? So it's been a long time coming for him. Skill set solid. Striking is technical. He's better than Jarno Errens. Errens' stand-up is okay. Very stiff. That's something I've noticed. He's very stiff. Has rocked both of his UFC opponents, though. That's something to mention, at least worth noting. But I think Stephen Nguyen can touch him up and get a decision, I believe. I think Errens is pretty durable. Now, looking at the scales between these two, Stephen Nguyen, he looks okay. Very flat muscle bellies here, but, expected with a weight cut. These guys aren't bodybuilding built. Jarno Errens, he looks scary to me, man. He looks scary to me. He looks like a goblin, to be honest with you. Like, he looked real thin. You can tell that weight cut really sucked him in. And there's the face-off. Like, even here, bro. He looks like a marathon runner type skinniness. That's interesting. Very thin, especially, like, for the side of him, like Flat Stanley. If you're stateside, you know what that is. I think Nguyen gets it off. Or I think Nguyen gets it. I think Nguyen gets the win. Not to be corny, but Nguyen gets the win. I don't like how Errens looked on the scales at all. Plus 137 Errens. Nguyen at minus 157. At open, Nguyen was actually 3-1 favorite. So the lines have been not bad as far as the shift going to a more playable spot for Stephen Nguyen. Win to win via decision, plus 140, and that over 2.5 is minus 155. Stephen Nguyen to get the win. That's the call. We're going with Stephen Nguyen to do it. I think he can take this thing. I think he can win this fight. Stephen Nguyen pulls it off over Jarno Errens. That's the call. Next fight on the card, we got Miles Johns versus Cody Gibson. I've been riding with Miles Johns, but he is taking this fight on short notice. Came in on weight, claims he was training. A lot of people in the comments have misspoke and said that I'm off for saying that Miles Johns tested positive for Turinabol. He most certainly did. He didn't test positive for Adderall medication. You can dig into it. He was suspended 4.5 months for a positive Turinabol test, anabolic steroids. Now, I'm picking Miles Johns. I like Miles Johns' style. I think he's a decent fighter. I think he definitely can beat a guy like Cody Gibson, who's 36 years old. The worry would be the short notice, but he did come in on weight, in shape, and ready to go. Looking at these guys on the scales, this Cody Gibson looks pretty lean and ready to go. He's in great shape. Miles Johns looks solid as well. I mean, you can tell he had that heavy weight cut with the sunken in eyes, but he looks good. And then there's the face-off. Cody Gibson does not look much taller. The size difference as far as height goes is not really substantial, and Miles Johns is a thicker guy. I think Miles Johns takes a decision here. I know it's short notice, but I still expect him to be ready for 3 hard, and I think he controls Gibson in the wrestling, and I think he could even rock him on the feet. Minus 147 for Miles Johns, Gibson at plus 127. I'll tell you guys, the weigh-in, how Miles Johns looked, has given me even more confidence. I was confident in the pick as far as the stylistic matchup. My concern specifically was the short notice, but also the past PED usage and then a potentially diminished version of Miles Johns. But he doesn't look much different. Over 2.5 is minus 175, and then Johns to win a decision plus 180 is the official method of victory prediction here. Miles Johns to get the win. I got him beating Cody Gibson, and I like this fight a lot. I'm excited. I'm very excited. Next fight on the card is Ricardo Ramos versus Julian Erosa. I'm excited to see how these two fight, man. The way it's going to play out is going to be intriguing. I'm picking Ramos, though. I'm a Ramos fan. I'll tell you guys straight up. I feel like he has a lot of potential. He's just got a really low fight IQ right now, but he's only 28. That Jourdain fight, he left his neck out there to be strangled. Other fights, he's done dumb tactics. But when he's on point, the dude's got good striking. He's impressive. And I feel like Erosa, with that very hands-low style, is going to be susceptible to damaging strikes from Ramos. So I am going to pick Ramos officially to get it done by knockout. I got faith in the prospect. I think he can pull it off, and I feel like he can get back on track here against, a crafty, awkward guy in Julian Erosa. Now, looking at the scales between these two fighters, let's check them out. There is Julian Erosa, slim, ready to go. Looks Erosa-like. This is how he normally looks, man. Nothing crazy to note. It looks like Erosa. Then on the other side, we got Ricardo Ramos. You know who he looks like? He looks like Pick'em MMA. If you don't know who that is, he's another MMA YouTuber. He's a friend of the channel. And I hope that he sees this and gets a laugh. He does. He looks just like him. That's actually fucking hilarious. I like Ramos to get this win. I think he pulls it off. We're going with him. There's a face-off between the two. You see, Erosa's taller, but not nearly as tall as like the statistics will have you believe. 5'9" to 6'1". This looks like 5'9" to 5'11". Not a substantial height difference. Bit of a reach edge for Erosa. I mean, he's a real slim guy with long arms. But I think Ramos can get past the reach. He's the technically better striker. And I think he can rock Julian Erosa, who's on a 2-fight losing streak, 2 knockouts. I know people will say the Padilla one, it was early, whatnot. Still was stopped, still an official knockout. Minus 180, Ramos, plus 155 for Erosa. Ramos opened as an underdog. Crazy to see that line flip completely. I think we're going under at minus 175. What's interesting is I'm picking Ramos by knockout. That's plus 250. Erosa by submission is plus 500. Even though I'm on the Ramos side, I don't think it's a horrible idea to pick Erosa by sub because Erosa's got a good amount of submissions as a pro. We've seen Ramos put himself in vulnerable spots and get strangled. I feel like Ramos should win it, but that hedge of Erosa by sub definitely sits there and catches my eye. Still, nonetheless, the pick is Ricardo Ramos, and I honestly feel like he's got potential in the sport. I have this Oliveira vibe from him, like the young Oliveira, right? He gives me that feel. That's what I think from Ramos, and I'm going to have some faith that he's got some potential, man. I think he's going to pull it off. Next fight on the card is our featured prelim of the night. It's Trey Ogden versus Kurt Holobaugh. I've been picking Kurt Holobaugh as an underdog, and I'm calling him an underdog lock this week. I like the chances a lot of him winning. I think he can submit Trey Ogden. I think he fights at a faster pace. Advantage for him straight out is the fact that I think Ogden is going to be uncomfortable in this fight with Kurt Holobaugh. He's also coming off the Ultimate Fighter win, riding, if you count the Ultimate Fighter fights, what, a 5-fight win streak? There's a ton of momentum and a late career resurgence for Kurt Holobaugh. And I think he can beat Trey Ogden where Ogden is best. Ogden is never overly impressive in the UFC. Like, he has that upset win over Daniel Zellhuber, who was like 23 at the time. Pure striker Zellhuber. Kurt Holobaugh, a guy that's going to be mixing it up everywhere, and I think has a legit jiu-jitsu advantage. And I'll anticipate he's also going to have a bit of a wrestling and strength advantage too. We're going to check them out on the scales here. You can see Trey Ogden. He looked kind of sleepy on the scale. I wasn't really impressed by what I was looking at physically from him. On the other side, Kurt Holobaugh looks absolutely stacked with muscle, and this is the underdog in this fight. Yeah, I'm on the dog. I'm on the savage dog. This is the side-by-side. I mean, Ogden's still in good shape, to be fair, but I think Kurt Holobaugh can tie up with him, win the grappling exchanges, and I feel like he can win by submission. I'm going with Kurt Holobaugh to pull this thing off. I think that he can get a big W here in his next UFC appearance, especially coming off of that Austin Hubbard finish in the Ultimate Fighter finale. Underdog Holobaugh plus 135. We got to ride with the momentum. Ogden minus 155, the favorite. Over is minus 160, but I think finish is live. Holobaugh could sub him up. Holobaugh by submission is plus 425. Note something that we have seen Ogden submitted 3 times as a professional MMA fighter. Yeah, not in the UFC, but like his UFC fights are not that impressive when you think about it. Jordan Levitt's split decision was a snooze fest. Yes, he beat Zellhuber, which is aged fantastically. He lost to Ignacio afterwards. And a no contest, granted he was dominating Nicholas Moda, but Moda's a pure striker. I think Kurt Holobaugh can win. And I'm going to pick him to win as an underdog. We want Holobaugh for the W in the feature prelim. Let's jump to our main card opener. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash the likes. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. It's Luis Pajuelo versus Fernando Padilla. I'm picking Padilla to win this thing. I expect a great scrap. Pajuelo is a banging brawler. The dude comes forward with pressure and throws heavy shots. That's his style. Padilla has a big length advantage, which I think could be a factor. Striking from distance from him could be on point. He also is the more experienced guy, right? 15-5 record, 1-1 inside of the UFC. Pajuelo's got a killer be killed style, and he's normally finishing a lot of guys, but Padilla's never been knocked out as a professional. I think he'll probably be pretty okay in the striking. Mexican fighter, I expect a good chin from him as well, taking shots from Pajuelo. I believe he'll absorb him all right. I think Padilla can win a hard-fought decision. I'm expecting this fight to be a scrap that's competitive, and he edges it out in a good war. Let's check these two out on the scales here. Let's see what they're looking like. We got Pajuelo on the scale. I don't think he looks that great. I don't know. I feel like I expected him to look more jacked. There's Padilla. Looks like typical. You know what I'm saying? Typical look. It's Padilla. I don't know. He doesn't. It's thin, long frame, kickboxing from the outside. Ears are cauliflowered up. Holy shit. And then there's the face-off between these two. Doesn't look like a substantial height edge, man. I'm telling you, these heights, what, 5, I guess that's 5'10" to 6'1". It's 5'10" to 6 foot at the most. I think Padilla gets it done. The length edge is real, though. And I think hard 3 rounds, Padilla on the judges' scorecards. Now, looking at the odds, Padilla's minus 175. Pajuelo's plus 150. I think we're going over 1.5, which is minus 200. And then Padilla to win via decision, plus 225. We're going with Fernando Padilla. I think he can win this fight. I think he's going to pull it off. I believe in him. I got some faith. And, yeah, Padilla for the Dubskis. Let's go. We're going with Mexico over Peru here in this fight, which could be the fight of the night. Next fight, we got Billy Quarantillo versus Youssef Zalal. I have been picking Billy Q throughout the entire week, but I've realized that Youssef Zalal has become a very popular underdog because we've seen the line essentially flip from Billy Q as a wide favorite to now near even lines. We'll bring the odds up in a minute. Zalal has never proven to be able to beat a guy with a smothering attack like Billy Q at the UFC level. Now, I understand, yes, he went the distance with Ilia Topuria, but it was a debut in Topuria. And I have picked Yusuf Zalal a fucking lot in his UFC career. I picked Billy Q here. Now, I'm not going to go out and tell you, bet the house on Billy Q. But I think he can give Zalal difficulty with smothering pressure. Like, Billy Q, he beat Hernandez, lost to Edson, and then a win over Damon Jackson. He got touched up and tested in that Damon Jackson fight. Yusuf Zalal is a very good striker, but he's not a high-pedigreed grappler, doesn't have great wrestling skills. I do think Billy Q can get a hold of him. I understand, though, the intrigue in this Yusuf Zalal side because of his length, because of the Moroccan kickboxing skill set. Let's check them out on the scales, and let's see how we're feeling about everything here. Let's scroll it down. This Billy Q, who honestly looks like fucking Peter Parker, man. The dude looks like he's still 20. And there's Yusuf Zalal on the other side. Looks excited to be back in the UFC. There's the face-off. I mean, Zalal looks way more chatted up. Forget about their careers. Like, if you told me these two are going to get in a fight, you eliminate the bad cauliflower for Billy Q, and I'm picking Zalal to take the accountant out. But with those cauliflower ears, we got a jiu-jitsu black belt in Billy Q. He's got good pressure, man. He's an underdog. Somehow he becomes a dog. Minus 105. But at open, he was sitting at minus 300. So we have seen the line move very close and even flip towards Zalal. Minus 115 for Zalal. A lot of people are very high on Zalal to win. Note that he's taking this fight on short notice, too. Over 2.5, minus 260. Interesting. Billy Q by sub, plus 1,000. Billy Q by decision, plus 155. The reason Zalal has become a favorite is because he fought a debuting Ilia Topuria and he went the distance here. But he has not proven to win at a high level in the UFC. His final UFC fight before being released, draw with Damon Blackshear down a weight class. Granted, Damon Blackshear has turned out to be pretty good, okay? So fair points for sure. I'm still going to pick Billy Q. If you guys get it over me that are picking Zalal, hey, you can tell me I told you so. We shall find out as we get into this fight, but I'm going with Billy Q to win. Next fight on the card, we got prospect battle, Peyton Talbott versus Cameron Saaiman. I've been picking Peyton Talbott to win. A very hard-fought and competitive decision. I feel like Cameron Saaiman's pretty talented, and the dude switches stances nicely. He's got a good stand-up game. He's quality on the floor. Talbott is a bit slicker in the striking. The worry is him getting taken down. Now, let's check them out on the scales. We got first Cameron Saaiman, shredded, ready to go. Peyton Talbott doing a back pose here with the fucking nail polish, man. Not the biggest fan of the nail polish. He's got the black dot tattoo in the front and the back. And there's the face-off. I didn't notice if Saaiman was wearing the shoes when I watched the video, but how is it that Talbott is listed as 2 inches taller? He's not. Looks like the smaller guy. This is a very hard fight for Peyton Talbott, but I am going to have some faith that he can win this sophomore UFC appearance against another tough prospect in Cameron Saaiman. Minus 158 for Talbott, plus 138 for Saaiman. Not the betting side that really intrigues me. I mean, over 2.5, minus 180. I got a hunch that we're going over. Both guys young, durable fighters. Talbot by a decision, plus 175. Yeah, man. The betting side of this one is not all that intriguing. Where the hell did we go? We just lost fight odds. What the hell? There we go. Fight odds is back. Had me confused as hell for a second. Nonetheless, I am going with the side of Talbot, even though I don't love the betting side per se. I think that he can win the fist fight. Peyton Talbot for the W is my official call. I think he's a little slicker in the striking, will deal with Saaiman's game, and win a competitive decision. Next fight is our featured bout of the night. It's Edmund Shahbazyan versus AJ Dobson. I've been picking Edmund Shahbazyan to get the W all week, and I'm still riding with his side. I really think he can touch up AJ Dobson here. It just depends on, is Shahbazyan going to fight extremely calculated and technical, looking to pick his shots well and not, go throw it out on the line for a finish and then potentially gas? AJ Dobson's 1-2 in the UFC. Last fight was a win over Tafa Chukwi. Not, the most impressive W ever, but got it done. Edmund Shahbazyan's beaten Brad Tavares. He's been in there with legit guys. There's AJ Dobson. Dobson looks like the uncle at the barbecue, man. That's great. That's great. And then there's Edmund Shahbazyan. Looks in pretty good shape. He looks jacked. And there's the face-off. I think Shahbazyan's going to be a lot slicker, a lot better in the striking. I think he could hurt AJ Dobson. Dobson's athletic, and he's talented for sure. But Edmund Shahbazyan is just the better fighter. He should definitely win. Dobson, I think, could get chinned. Money line is not bad, though. Minus 200. At open, it was minus 185. So not bad for Shahbazyan straight down the line. 2-1. Dobson plus 170. I feel good about Shahbazyan winning. Shahbazyan via KO is plus 150, but a decision is plus 300. I think Shahbazyan is live to win by knockout. 4 losses against high-tier fighters in the UFC? Derek Brunson, Jack Hermanson, Nasruddin Imavov, and Fluffy Hernandez. None of those losses are bad. And Dobson did lose to Petrosian, who's also an Armenian kickboxer, and I think Shahbazyan's more slick than him even. I think Shahbazyan can win. Dobson's pretty tough. We might end up going long. That plus 300 decision's interesting. I like Shahbazyan by knockout. I want him to get a knockout. But I don't think it's crazy that AJ Dobson goes distance, holds a bit with Shahbazyan in the small cage, and it ends up going all 3 rounds. But Shahbazyan is a guy that can deliver a lot of pain. A lot of pain. When he's on point, he can deliver a lot of pain. Co-main event. We got Carl Williams versus Justin Tafa. I've been picking Justin Tafa to absolutely spark Carl Williams flat out. He's going to expose Williams. Well, look at these guys on the scales, all right? Let's check these guys out. Let's see our boy Tafa. Tafa with the chatted up mustache. Every bit of 265 here. I think it was 264 and a half. 264 and a half, yeah, on weight. Looks huge. This Carl Williams looks okay. In shape, for sure. Decent-sized heavyweight. You're telling me Carl Williams is 6'3"? What the fuck are these height stats? And Tafa's 6 foot? It looks like 6'1" versus 6 foot. And this guy's going to dominate Tafa? I think Carl Williams is going to have a hard time getting him down. And I think Tafa's going to absolutely starch him with the big punch and flatline Carl Williams. Williams is going to be looking to chain wrestle. But he's not a finisher. He doesn't have submission threats, and he doesn't have good ground and pound. So he's going to control him for 3 rounds, just holding. That's the strat. You got to avoid the bomb of Tafa all night long. I think Tafa's going to starch Williams. I think he's going to catch him. I see him landing a big right hand and just absolutely bouncing his head off the canvas. I'm going with the underdog. I'm going with the Tafa side. I think he pulls this thing off. Plus 157 for Tafa. Minus 182 for Williams. Knockout win for Tafa sits at plus 215. Give me Tafa KO. Tafa by KO. He's flatlining Carl Williams. And I think he's going to look impressive and take out the wrestler. It's crazy. Justin Tafa was plus 125 against Rogerio de Lima. Now coming in here on short notice against Carl Williams. Obviously, that de Lima fight didn't happen. His brother fought him. Taking on Carl Williams, who was supposed to fight Junior. He's plus 157. He's a bigger underdog. And De Lima is a way more proven fighter than Carl Williams. Williams' UFC wins are Dreshki and Chase Sherman. I think Justin Tafa lands a bomb and flatlines Carl Williams. I know he hasn't beaten the best guys ever, right? Harry Hunsucker, Parker Porter, and Austin Lane. But he's got the power to do some serious damage here. And I think he's chinning Carl Williams. Win, Justin Tafa in our co-main. Let's get to our main event of the evening. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash the likes. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. We got Amanda Ribas versus Thug Rose Namajunas. Give me Thug Rose. I think Thug Rose could knock her out, too. If we get a really on-point Thug Rose, precise punching, nasty whipping kicks, I think she could put a hurting on Ribas, who was knocked out by Marina Rodriguez at 115. This fight, granted, is at 25, but it's a battle of top contenders from the strawweight division. I think Thug Rose gets a win. I think she snaps the 2-fight losing streak. I think she beats Amanda Ribas. I don't see Ribas taking her down. I think Ribas is going to be clearly slower on the feet. I think she's going to be getting touched up. If Rose Namajunas is on point per usual, I think she's going to have a field day, and I think she's going to knock Ribas out. If she's tentative Rose Namajunas, then hard-fought decision win. But I still think a tentative Rose Namajunas can outpoint Amanda Ribas. I'm going with Thug Rose to get it done, and I think she gets back on track. Let's check these girls out on the scales, and let's see them going face-to-face. There is Thug Rose. She looks like she's aged a bit since her last fight. Definitely looks different these days. There's Amanda Ribas. Looks good. And then there's the face-off between these two. Emotionless Rose Namajunas, the typical of what we get. I feel like she does carry a bit more body fat at 125, which is expected. But you know what? I can't knock her, right? The Man of Furo fight took place at 125. She broke her hand early in the fight and still went 3 rounds. It was fairly competitive. Thumbs up there by Ribas. I think Rose is going to get the thumbs up at the end and get the win. Emotionless Rose to get back on track. I think she can do this thing. I really think she's better than Amanda Ribas. I believe she's going to take her out. Minus 200 Namajunas, plus 170 Amanda Ribas. Thug Rose to win. Over 2.5 is interesting at minus 190, but Rose by knockout live throughout the fight. I mean, if you look, her most recent win is a W over the current strawweight champ, Weili Zhang. Namajunas is plus 125 for KO with a decision at plus 200. Interesting. I'm picking Thug Rose to win. I think if she's really on point, she can accumulate a lot of damage off on Amanda Ribas and stop her. Ribas is plus 170, the underdog. I'm going with Thug Rose to get it done. I think she wins this fight. I think she snaps it back on track, gets things flowing in the right direction again, and potentially dropping back down to 115 and challenging for the belt. Ribas is in trouble here with Thug Rose. An on-point Thug Rose is still one of the best in the world. I believe that to the absolute core. And until it's proven wrong, which it's not going to happen Saturday, we shall see. I'm going Rose Namajunas to win. That is the main event, but we're not done yet, okay? We're not done just yet. Parlays. We've talked a lot of parlays. Now, after seeing certain fighters on the scales, I think sometimes it gives you a better read of where everybody's at physically, and it can either, reassure your parlays or it can potentially chin your confidence. Now, initially, I felt that Rose Namajunas and Edmund Shahbazyan for plus 127 is a quality play as well. I still have faith that that is a quality play. Now, Tafa is a great money line underdog, but I think he is live to get the win by knockout here. You're looking to go for big savage mode. You go knockout Tafa. And then if you're looking through the card, you're like, all right, what's another match that's potentially interesting? Something that you could add into the mix. I feel like you scroll to Stephen Nguyen, plus 1152. That's not bad at all. Kurt Holobaugh is a dog as well, plus 2,716. Interesting. Very interesting. Very interesting. I've called André Lima all week. I do think he gets the win over Igor, Severino. Usman, not really crazy about parlaying him up, and it's heavyweight, so I'd worry about that over a lot. Saaiman Talbott's got a good chance to go over. What's an over 2.5 there? A Thug Rose, an Edmund Shahbazyan, plus 242 for some main card savagery. This is not a bad idea. If you don't like the over, like I said earlier, these two, I think, go really well together. Miles Johns, plus 294. If you do want to throw in the MCP high confidence pick, André Lima, plus 278 with him on the lineup. But remember, he's a debuting guy, right? So there has to be a little bit of hesitancy thrown in, especially like all of your parlays. Then you might be fucking shitting the bed afterwards. You'll be shitting the bed heavy after. Over 2.5, boom. Justin Tafa, boom. Plus 1448. Holobaugh, boom, plus 3,384. All high probabilities, man. I think there's a good shot for it all. Reason I'm avoiding like a Ramos line is just a questionable fight IQ. It's always a worry with Ricardo Ramos. The first two that I brought up, I mean, that's what I'm feeling big time. But like, I think Nguyen is a good addition. Obviously, Holobaugh is an underdog pick. If you want to go just underdogs, Tafa Holobaugh gives you plus 485. You go in savage mode. But I'd rather just money line straight the dogs than try to risk it in a dog-dog parlay. That's kind of where my head's at with the parlays this week, man. It hasn't really changed much. everything's the same as what we've seen earlier in the week. I think there's some money calls and some cash to be made. Bet intelligently if you guys are throwing down. Definitely, if you're throwing some heat at it, man, dig into it yourself a little bit. I don't recommend just blindly tailing, but I'm telling you what I'm thinking and what I'm doing. Much love, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the breakdown. Make sure you all smash the likes. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Let me know in the comments what your picks are, what your thoughts on mine. And if you have nothing to say, we just enjoy the content. As always, drop a W in the chat to boost the algorithm for your boy. I'll see you guys all in that fight companion. Much love, my people. Peace out. See you tomorrow.